Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining our webinar. It's Boss Solutions' first webinar of 2019, and what a fantastic turnout. I'm Julie Wyatt on the business development team at Boss Solutions. What we'll cover in the next hour is how Beaufort Memorial Hospital is using an IT help desk to improve service delivery and user satisfaction across their organization. How service requests can easily be automated and built quickly to address client requirements. Customizable reports and dashboards provide immediate metrics for management teams. And lastly, answer your questions and do our gift card drawing. I'd like to introduce today's presenters: Willard Fosberry, Director of IT Infrastructure at Beaufort Memorial Hospital; Marty Strawser, Desktop Administrator at Beaufort Memorial Hospital; and Chris Giroux, Director of Support at Boss Solutions. A few quick notes. Everyone would be muted during the presentation. Please submit your questions by using the question window anytime during the webinar. We will answer all questions at the end of our presentation. The webinar is being recorded and will be sent to all participants. We will also be sending out a survey and appreciate your feedback. Before we begin, a little bit about Boss Solutions. We have over 25 years experience in service management. Our brilliantly simple software solutions, Boss Desk, ITEL Service Desk on the cloud, Boss Support Central, our on-premise version, and Boss 811, one-call ticket management solution for the damage prevention industry. Boss Solutions consistently exceeds industry standards with our award-winning technology. We've been named by Gartner as a front-runner for the last 3 years. We are known for our commitment to excellent customer support. Our presentation today, Willard Fosberry and Marty Strawser will discuss how Beaufort Memorial Hospital is using IT help desk to improve service delivery and user satisfaction across their organization. But first, an overview by Chris Giroux, Director of Support of our Boss Support Central.
Good afternoon, everyone. So what I'm going to go over today is I'm just going to quickly go ahead and create a service catalog in front of your eyes. So how we go about doing this, Willard and Marty will take you through what they're doing within their organization, but I kind of want to show you the differences so you'll be able to grasp quickly what they are doing and how they did it. So what we're going to show you is this is what an end user would see versus what a technician would see. And starting off, you should notice some quick differences. I have 6 categories where the end user only has 5, and they also only have 1 form inside this technology services form. So what I have done basically is create forms for end users to fill out. However, some are created for techs only or for certain individual groups or departments. So that's why this end user does not see all the same forms that the technician sees. So how do we go about doing all of this? So as a technician, as an administrator, I would have access to come in here to settings and create service catalog categories. And these categories are going to be for you to drive your end users to the correct forms. And the forms are going to be stored in the service catalog section. And what you're going to see here is I created a form this morning called All Fields Form. And what I did is I went ahead and dragged all the fields into the form so you could see what each one does. So basically, to build a form, you name it, you turn it on, you get to select what category it's going to go through. Then you're going to choose a picture for the image to be shown with that form. And some people for purchasing might show $signs or something of that nature. So you choose pictures that are pertinent for this form. And then you'll see a short description for the users and a long description for the users. So you can put information in here for them to correctly fill out your form. The ones that are only for technicians, I would turn that on here. If I wanted to allow only the HR, like I did with the new hire form, then I would select a group, select the department that we've imported from Active Directory, and that's how I would limit the visibility to that form. If it requires approval, we can require the approval from the user's manager, which is also gathered through Active Directory. And we can also create boards, and anybody can be added to an approval board as long as they're in our system, imported through, once again, through AD. You will have a list of categories, which Marty will kind of go through in his little best practices spiel coming up. And you'll be able to select where this form is going to go immediately when it's filled out, and what type of ticket is it. Now, to do the form, you simply would drag the field over that you want and drop it into the blue section. And I've gone ahead and done this, and you'll notice I have a heading field, the single line, the multi-line. So I kind of wanted you to see what each field would do. And I also added a task and approval, so when we create this ticket, you'll be able to see the ticket as an end user and as a technician, and be able to see the task, the asset added, anything of that nature. Note there is one called time entry. This is only visible to text. So when I create this as an end user, you will not see this field. However, if I created this as a technician, I would see this field. That way I could go ahead and pre-populate time into a ticket. This is good for after hours technicians that maybe are working from home and they want to go ahead and enter in their time for a ticket. They can do that and it'll insert, and then when they come in the next day, they could close it if we didn't have a routing rule to do that up front. So back to the end user, and I actually put that form in this little category, and there's its little picture. And so we click on request as an end user. And so here are all the fields. So a single line text just basically allows you to put some text in here. Now also, I didn't describe, but you can design which one of these fields is going to become the title of the ticket. So all fields form could be the title of all tickets, or I could take this field, maybe the subject line, and make this the title of the ticket. Multi-line is just what it says. Link allows the end user to put in, maybe they're having an error and you want to give them this field so they can type in the error that they're having and what website it's from so they can paste that information in. If they want to add a snapshot, a snipping tool, you would use the rich text field. An integer field, of course, is for numbers. Decimals is for decimals. Of course, you have a date field, a checkbox field, your drop down, which you will label and select the drop downs you want, and then a cascading drop down allows them to choose different subsections within it. The paragraph field, this is where I can insert pictures and links into the form. And then the machine info field automatically pulls the host name of the machine that this ticket is being created from. And the attachment field is what it is. It allows you to add attachments to this ticket. From there, the end user is just simply going to click request. This is what their ticket will look like from an end user view. So all of those fields just go into the description of the actual ticket. And the link one allows them to click on it and take them to that link. The picture automatically loads also. Now, as a technician, I can see that totally different. So that same ticket that was just created, here it is once again as a technician will see it, but the technician, of course, has more fields to play with. So we have notes, so we can send and converse back with the end user. We have private notes, so we don't allow them to see those. I went ahead and created a task off of that, so anytime that form is filled out, it's going to generate this task. There's the asset that was added, so now I can simply click on that asset to go to it and see any information on it I want. I also sent an approval, so these 3 people that were on that board got an approval. And everything, of course, is logged inside the event logs of this ticket so you can track anything with it. And that has nothing to do with the technician setting up a category, assigning it to teams or anything like that. That all can be done on the back end. You don't have to manually do it. And just simply go into routing, create a new routing rule, add a condition group, and we'll add a condition. And then notice service request is all fields form. That allows me to route this to anybody I want, any team we have set up in the system. It allows me to use any of the fields that we have set inside those forms to be routed off of also. So any selection inside a form can be routed if we say that field is routed when we set up the form. And let me get back to this section here. I wanted to show you a new hire form that we had created, and then I'm going to hand this off to Willard and Marty and let them go. So here is a new hire form that we were just messing around with, and the reason why I wanted you to see it is you can put links for FAQs into it. That'll open up into another tab, and then of course links in the paragraph, maybe to fill out some business cards or anything that needs to be done can be set up inside the system at the time, and everything else can be done on the back end. So that's just a quick overview of how to set up a service catalog, how to create a form inside of this. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop my share, and then Marty and Willard are going to take over and they're going to share from their PC. Marty and Willard, if you'll unmute yourself, there we go.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me, Chris?
Perfect, loud and clear.
Good afternoon, everybody. While we're getting this presentation set up just nicely here on the screen, I'll introduce myself. Willard Fosberry, IT Infrastructure Director at Beaufort Memorial Hospital. We are in Beaufort, South Carolina, on the beautiful coast. If you're out there and you're not familiar with the area, think Paris Island, the East Coast Marine Corps Depot. They are in our backyard, and we share a lot of the same real estate together. Been here for about 9 years, and we have been a BOSS customer for about 8 of those 9 years. Let me just take a second to tell you a little bit about who we are. We are an independent community, not-for-profit hospital. It's about 200 beds, specializing in orthopedic surgery. A very large, newly renovated ER. We see a lot of ER visits every year. We're kind of like the only hospital in the region, so a very busy and vibrant place given our size. One of the most important things is, though, we have a workforce of about 1,400 individuals, and if any of you are in healthcare, those individuals range from doctors to nurses to all kinds of back-end office support staff. So we support a wide range of users in our environment. One of the things that makes us a little unique to some of the more modern organizations is we host almost all of our applications on-prem. We're a Meditech shop. That is our clinical EHR. And almost all of our applications are hosted on-prem, and I tell you that because that is an indicator that drives our workforce to call back into our help desk for just about everything. We really don't have a lot of 1-800 numbers to call in for support for any cloud-based application. So very busy help desk, so it's really incumbent on us to not only have a good tool for our help desk, but to have a good tool for our workforce to enter into our IT workflow. What we have done, we have been long-term BOSS customers, as I said. We have their legacy system that we use for IT workloads only. And, you know, the system was good. We kind of came up with BOSS at a previous version. And it was a good shell for us to start and present to our workforce. And it was adequate. It wasn't special, but it certainly helped us tremendously getting the workforce to enter in tickets and get things worked in an organized manner. We attempted at the time to roll in the other big service part of our organization, which is plant service, into the ticket system at the time, but we really didn't have any success with that for one reason or another. It really wasn't because of the product itself. It was really because of the way plant service had their legacy ticketing system built, and it had a lot to do with the way they deliver preventative maintenance and with their assets. And we'll touch on that in a minute in this presentation. So what was our struggle? What I just described. We had the BOSS system in, the workforce could enter in tickets online, but they had to go to another place to enter in tickets for traditional plant services, break, fix type of stuff. Unfortunately, the ticket system that was built for the plant services guys was actually part of our EHR. So if you were a rank and file back office support staff, you had to actually go into our clinical system and start to work up an order almost like you were doing a clinical order. And then the plant services work order ticket was derived out of that framework. It was a large dissatisfier. It was way too many clicks for the workforce to get to the meat of the work order. So a couple of years ago, we had a change of direction. We had we had some turnover at our senior team level. A young, dynamic CEO came on board, and one of the first things he wanted to do was start having feedback sessions with our workforce to find out what the pain points were. And one of the big things that popped up was how dissatisfied our workforce was with putting in work orders for the plant services system. So he came back to me, Willard, Marty, what do you got? He says, well, we got something pretty cool here that we use. We would love to get plant services on board and help the workforce. So we were tasked with delivering something new. Those feedback sessions kind of coincided with bosses standing up and ready to produce their new Support Central platform. So we wanted something that had a new look and feel to it. We wanted to fold in plant services to our service offering, and then we wanted to have all of these items presented through a service catalog. And it was kind of like the right time, the right place that we all came together. So Marty, who is in the room with me, is actually the smart guy in the room. I'm just offering this out from where we were from a leadership standpoint. He is the one who cracked open the new application, got hooked up with Chris and some of the other boss engineers, and really started to show me and show some of the senior team what we could do and put something together and educate our staff on how to use it. It had an immediate impact. The things that Chris was showing you a few minutes ago were just a huge game changer for us. The staff could browse to a graphical catalog. They didn't have to pick and choose their way through laborious pull-down menus to get a ticket in. That was a really big win for us. One application, one-stop shop. This is where you go for a ticket. If you want to put in something for the IT, I've got a broken mouse keyboard, or I've got a problem with this app rendering on my desktop, you go here. If I got to change a light bulb on the 5th floor, I go here. If I need to report a problem with security cameras, no visibility into a parking lot, we go here. We were able to present that to the workforce in a consolidated effort. Much fewer tickets to get, fewer clicks to get a ticket submitted. We posted it right there on our primary hospital webpage, easy to get to. And then one of the things that we really like from a management standpoint, and my fellow managers, is the increased visibility into the ticket as it goes through the work order lifecycle. That was another big win for us. So we've been running, I guess, for about a year now on that new platform. Lots of good feedback. There's still more to do. It's a powerful tool, and we do know that there's some things we want to do in the future, hopefully the not too distant future. We want to do some more with asset management. We want to do some things like import the entire plant services inventory into the system and see if we can help them with their preventative maintenance schedules and some other scheduled services. I think that would probably benefit us on the IT side as well. And then finally, we would like to get the tool in a mobile standpoint, so that not only my IT techs, but the plant services techs could work a little bit smarter and not harder, and have the application and the workflow hanging on their hip rather than having to come back to a home office or getting an old-fashioned printout for work orders. So that's kind of where we are from a 30,000-foot view. It's been a really good relationship. I'm looking forward to working with Boss into the future. And with that, I'll stop talking and turn the floor over to Martin Strawser. We call him Marty, who has really dove into the application and customized it, and he's going to kind of show you what he did for us.
Hi, I'm Martin Strawser. I administrate the Boss Support Central on-prem instance at Beaufort Memorial Hospital. Today I'd like to show you a little bit about our service catalog and kind of talk about the process in which we took to implement it. Our instance was set up in a matter of a week, due some lofty promises by my boss. Chris gave me the latest build that introduced the service catalog on a Friday, and I had us ready and in production on the following Thursday. With that said, if you're in a crunch for a ticketing solution, it's definitely possible to do that really quick with Boss. So this is kind of our instance. It looks a lot like what Chris was showing you. We have a lot of forms.
Marty, your screen hasn't changed yet.
Oh, there we go. Oh, it needs to change. I'm sorry. Okay. So this is our instance. This is one of the this is actually our plant services category, which we have lots of forms. We have definitely, I think we utilize like around 80 forms total. So I'm going to kind of also talk about how I would have done things a little differently, just from setting up standpoint, because I mean, we didn't have a whole lot of time, but there's definitely some room and improvement in that process. So what I would do first is I would go through and create all your ticket types first. We chose to use ours based off departments. And then we would go to categories. We did this by department, and then we went more granular and got into teams and even some roles. Doing this will allow you to do a lot more with your routing. So after you have that created, it's probably best to actually step away from the system itself and draw out a structure for your service catalog. You can whiteboard it, use Visio, or manually draw it out. I used a poster board and some Post-its and just started, pretty much every Post-it represented one of our forms, and I started putting them in categories. It's easy to get really caught up at this part, so just kind of, try to just get it done and kind of make it like a draft. But also, while you're doing it, keep in mind that this is for end users, so think like one. Copy things from other places that you've seen that works. You don't need to recreate the wheel, and just kind of keep the philosophy that end users do not care who really fixes the issue. If they want, they just kind of want their toilet fixed, or a new privacy screen. So you don't really have to stick with the traditional silos of this is plant services, this is IT. You can kind of stray away from that with the service catalog. You want to make it simple. When you call 911 dispatch, you don't get transferred to a different department based on your needs. Your ticketing system should be the same way. So next, we're going to build out the categories and forms, and we're going to do that in Boss. But something else that you should do, and this is what I recommend, is create a group in Boss and just put your text in it. And then make another group and just put you in it. Use the blank forms, or use basic blank forms with just like a multi-line dialog box. So basically I would just come in here, create a form, make it to where only the text can see it, and then a multi-line box. And the reason why we're doing this is so that you can then introduce your text to the environment. Just use placeholder icon and don't go too into it. So then when the tickets are being, so when your texts are getting in there, they can see these tickets, and then they can submit tickets on the ticket or the ticket form, and then you can make the changes based off of their input, because it's always good to remember that your texts know their tickets the most. And it's good to get that input from them, because that's going to help you when it comes to troubleshooting times and resolution. And if you're metrics oriented, that's definitely something that you're looking for. And just make the simple routing rule on this for all the tickets to come to you directly. And then you can hash them out, like, is this a good idea? Is this a bad idea? Or, or maybe if a team of people to kind of like to flush it out. And this is also good because your techs get to learn the new system by using it. And then there's some, as you go through and complete the forms, you can then take the text group and take them out and put the group that you can only see in there, and that will then take it away from the text being able to see it. And you can kind of say, well, when you do that these forms are done, almost like you got them ready for production. And then when you actually are ready for production, you can remove all the visibility rules against it and then go live with it. I think it's a very unique way of handling it, but it's definitely nice to be able to use the system to build itself. Keep in mind when you're building out these forms and kind of vetting them out that you don't want too many questions or options, because that tends to discourage or confuse users. Too few questions will not be helpful in troubleshooting or routing. And if you have too few questions, there's a possibility that it could become a catch-all. And it does happen, trust me. I had a ticket for our SharePoint application that requested more toilet paper in the bathroom. So if people find an easy way, they will take that route. And definitely use security trimming to keep it simple for users. Going back to our service catalog, most of these fields, as the organizational changes, that's only to HR and hiring managers. Requisitions is also just limited to managers who are allowed to purchase, or other users that are allowed to make purchases. And you can kind of trim it up, because the nurses they most likely don't need to put a ticket in to create an interface, or they're probably not looking at having you create a report. So you can definitely make it very simple by trimming it all down. And then lastly, a lot of people generally bring up about the icons that we use and how we got them in this format. Because we have a lot of custom icons, and I want to just kind of switch gears here a little bit and show you this program called Image Magic. It's capable of taking photos or pictures and putting them all into the same file extension, such as PNG, and making them the same size. And you also can use it to change the hue or the overall color of the picture, which can give you a very uniform and cleaner look. that's kind of the tips that I have for you. We use this system probably not to its fullest extent, but we do have plans to extend upon that. We're going to add our asset management with plant services into this, and there's definitely a big future for BOSS here at Beaufort Memorial Hospital. So with that, I am going to take you back over to Chris.
Excellent, Marty. Got a couple questions for you. One would be, you kind of answered it, but you said you did it like in about a week. So you created your service catalog really over the weekend though, right? And then you
Right.
brought yourself live in the following week.
Yes.
Excellent. And then the other question we had was, what was your biggest problem to overcome on the service catalog itself?
You get really caught up in like where these categories are supposed to be, and like I got to a point where I was overthinking it. It's best to just kind of don't overthink of it. Just like I said earlier, just kind of do a draft scenario and kind of let the system sort itself out based off of your input from your technicians.
Excellent. And then Willard, you have a question here. One is, what was the reaction of management to all the changes?
Well, that's a good question. I wanted to share a couple of pictures, but I was asked to please not to have. We had a little photo op. So the way we roll out new features is I forced the guys to get out, and we set up a little a show and tell area. In one of the areas that we get the most traffic is near our cafeteria. So lunchtime and breakfast time, the workforce cycles through there, and I was very happy to have Russell Baxley, our CEO, and a couple of other senior team members hang out there and actually see the product on a large screen and watch these guys do their thing and educate the workforce. I've never seen them linger around so long from any other thing that we've ever done. They were just super impressed. And then in subsequent management meetings, I was just getting a lot of thank yous from all across the board, from the clinical team to the financial team, to say thank you for delivering this product to us and helping the workforce out. So just instant positive feedback.
Excellent. And then another quick question for both of you. What about your end users? How did they take to it, and how easy was it for them to adapt?
The end users took to it pretty well. Like I said, we did a lot of focusing on keeping it trimmed down. And before they were going through for plant services, they were just drilling down through just lists to get to the point where they could put in a work order ticket. So they were extremely happy. IT tickets were always a bit easier to put in, so that really didn't change a whole lot, other than they got a new GUI to look at. But other than that, it was pretty successful, and we got quite a few people who gave us their seal of approval. So
yeah, if I could just add on to that a little bit, that's everything that Marty said was absolutely true. But we are a medical center. It's the healthcare industry. It might be unique to some other industries. If we were in manufacturing or software development or something, it may have had a larger impact. But basically, our primary group of users are nurses, clinicians on the floor, and they really need to get back to the business of taking care of their patients. So if we could just kind of streamline their workflow a little bit and let them focus on what they do best, then I've considered that a success. We don't really get a whole lot of kudos and thank yous from the workforce, but if we don't hear a lot of noise, we kind of take that as a success. So all in all, a good rollout for us.
Good. You've got a couple requests here. If you wouldn't mind sharing your screen again. You actually have one one person would like to see some of your routing rules and how you're streamlining things. And another person would like to actually see some of the forms that you've created there, Marty, so you can
Okay.
show some of that, if you don't mind.
All right. Well, so the routing rules, I could do more with it, honestly, but, and I do plan on coming back through and kind of giving Boss a revamp at some point in time. But I pretty much have all my standard routing rules set up for the team or the role that they're going to based off of the ticket. So we'll go here to the help desk one. And it's pretty simple, just checking the categories and then assigning it to a team. We haven't done anything super crazy with routing rules yet, but I mean, they're pretty much all like this. We do more than just plant services. We have our biomedical equipment technicians on here. We have some application administrators on here. For example, our 3M application in Athena. We have our pharmacy. They use the ticketing system for missing medications, and then security as well. They use it for the badge access and cameras and locks. And then we use it a little bit for keeping track of purchase ordering to a little bit of extent. So that's our routing. It's nothing too crazy. And then some of the forms, let's go to SharePoint. That's a good one. And we kept them pretty simple as well. And we find that works best. So basically for SharePoint, I put some information that usually helps me when I'm troubleshooting SharePoint issues, like a site name and the site URL, and maybe like, standard things that people request for. And then I do give them a little description box so they can elaborate on that. Other requests. Okay. So like organizational changes, it's a bit more to it. It's our new hire form, and we ask for lots of information, and then that gets passed through based off of some of this information here. We're going to take this a step further eventually and extend this out for better onboarding. But right now it's everything's pretty basic for us. We try to keep it as simple as possible.
I like it. I like it. That's the way I tell everyone to do it when I'm setting them up anyway. All right. That's all the shares I've got. I've got another question for me, so I'm going to take back control. And anybody else that has any other questions, go ahead and submit them at this time. I will kind of walk them through and show you on the product. Marty and Willard, I want to thank you for your time. If y'all will hang on, Julie will take back control and do the drawing after I answer all questions. So one question that was just asked, is there a dashboard that allows you to see ticket status, ticket assignment, ticket stats? So yes, that is available, and that is available in both products, by the way. Support Central is your on-prem version. Boss Desk would be your cloud version. Both of them have the same modules, so you'll be able to do either in either. But as far as doing things on the dashboard, yes, we have a ton of widgets, which in this case, they are SQL statements. In Boss Desk, they're a different type of statement that goes into the database and pulls the information. They are interactive. So in this case, this is an actual configurable widget. So I can say multiple categories, multiple types, multiple teams, priorities. I could do onesie, twosies, and this is the actual widget I use here a ton. And the reason why is then I can name it myself, and I can make it more exact way I want to see. And then, of course, once it's set, then I can click on it and it'll actually be interactive and take me to that query that I've just seen. So that is the dashboard. You just set that up however each technician wants in your environment. It's a simple come over here, add a dashboard widget. All the widgets that are there currently would be showing. The one I just showed was called number of tickets widget, and you can add as many of those as you want. But there are other ones that show pending approvals, tasks, problems, things of that nature. All of those widgets would be available to each technician to set up on their own. Marty showed his forms. The other question was, can you show your routing rules and give some case examples of how you streamline things? Marty went through his. Some other ones that we've seen some multiple condition ones. Most people will do onesie twosies, but they'll do a lot more of them. But you do have the option to add different condition groups. So if I wanted to say in this case it was service request is facilities issue, but I wanted to dive down further and say, well, the facilities issue for this location is good for anything at City Hall, but for maybe another location, I want to route it differently. So those are the different types of conditions, and you would just use the and or clauses. So all would be and any will be or, and that's how you would do that. And then you would set any of the actions you want inside that ticket. So as far as what you can do inside setting actions, you can add comments, you can add tasks, you can add timesheets. Close is really for doing like first level calls, create and close. So you choose like an extended status of closed as your condition. That way you would automatically close the ticket as a technician, and you wouldn't have to go back to the ticket. You can also set up multiple emails to individuals, back to the requester, to the assignee, tech and team, of course. And then setting things inside the ticket like the priority and an extended status and the category and type can all be done, along with any custom fields. So if you're not familiar with our product, you can set custom fields for all categories or individual categories. So then you would be able to set that data inside the ticket based on some criteria in a condition if need be. And then, of course, you also have the approvals where you can request approvals. Now, something Marty also touched on that I wanted to go over was groups and how he was doing those groups to limit what you could see with the service catalog. And most of it is done through AD. So when we import your Active Directory, users will be brought in by what department they're in. However, you can create groups, and this is what Marty was discussing with you, is I can actually create another group and I can add anybody from these AD groups to that group. So you can create manual groups and add your Active Directory users to it. So you might create like where some people have managers, but the supervisor is actually over, the entire department. But in AD, the manager of Josie is Joe. Well, we need to notify the supervisor. Well, we can have a supervisor group and add those people to it. So that way we can notify them also of anything that we may want to do. So those type things are available to you. You just have to know how to manipulate the system, and also, of course, let your support team member know what you're trying to do. And since we hear and see a lot of it, we usually can come up with a good way to do it for you. And I'm not seeing any more questions. If there are any more at this time, please go ahead and type it in. If not, then I am going to turn this back over to Miss Julie and allow her to do our drawing for our $50 gift card. Just give me 1 second.
Thank you, Chris. And the lucky winner of our Amazon gift card is the University of Iowa, Timothy Flynn. Congratulations, Timothy. And I wanted to thank you gentlemen, a lot of great information today. Please remember to fill out your surveys, everyone. And thank you everyone for joining us today, and have a great afternoon.